Hi guys, Bomber here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are here with top 3 decks to try out when the new expansions is going to release. So first off, we have Braum Soraka. Of course, Soraka really synergizes with healing, and you have to heal to level her up. Once she's leveled up, you can draw a lot from her, and also she's quite sturdy as well, so really fits the control playstyle. But in this kind of deck, and as well as the other two, which you're going to see, this is a bit more experimental, and it's something that probably is going to end up more competitive than what it's meant to be, Soraka, mainly. So yeah, we want to have Soraka synergies, but as well as Star Spring synergies, which of course it gives you another win condition if you heal a lot. So for that reason, since regeneration does works with Star Spring and counts as an healing, then Braum, which has regeneration of course, is a very fitting champion for this. We could have gone also for Trundle, but I guess the Trundle is much more into the control aspect, while this deck doesn't really want to be control. It is much more like an aggro mid-range, but also has the combo potential, which is makes this a very strong game, and also has some control aspect too. So really this is a mix of all the deck archetypes, so we'll have very good matchups with anything that comes at you. For example, in the aggro matchup, you have stuff like a Broad-Backed Protector or Kindly Tavern Keeper to heal you and also put a presence on board, as well as Ember Maiden, which can act as a Howie, basically, an area of effect. And yeah, as also Getting Touch for the additional healing, Mountain Goat for that early presence on board, and stuff like that. Instead, against like more slow playstyles, like against control or mid-range, then you have the Star Shepherd plan. You can't really see that. So yeah, you have the Star Shepherd plan. You start with this on turn 1, you damage it by blocking or yeah, by attacking. They won't really block on these, but you will have other units which are going to be damaged. So at one point they have kinda to block the Star Shepherd, because this will get huge pretty quickly, especially with Star Spring, because every round if you like hit 3 units with this, then it's a +6 +0 to Star Shepherd, which is very strong. Then yeah, we are also running the gem package, being mainly Mountain Goat and Mentor of the Stones, because we want to get our Braum to be very big in the attack, so that when you challenge as well, you can like remove units. And also the reason why we run Braum and not Trundle is because with Braum you can choose for Braum to be blocked, so this will always get damaged mainly, and so this will level up or maybe make you win with Star Spring much quicker. If everything fails and you don't get the Star Spring plan or the Braum plan or the aggro potential of this deck, then there is still the Stargazer plan, which doesn't really work with Star Spring, as someone may think, because this heal happens at the round end, not at the round start, and so they won't get elusive from the Star Spring, or at least they will get it, but then the round is ending, so you can't really attack with that. Instead, this is more like, for example, Braum every turn, if he did get damaged, for example, by the Ember Maiden. And also an additional combo with Ember Maiden is that with Ember Maiden you are clearing off all the small units from your opponent, you are dealing damage to your own things as well. This will proc Braum, for example, but also then if you have a Star Spring already on board, then by the end of the turn that damage will be healed. But this is very important because you have to have a way to damage your own stuff, because for example, as I say, the Star Shepherd won't be blocked, or you can only block with it, but if they don't attack into you, then you can't really damage your own stuff, so you need a way to do that, like with, as I say, the Ember Maiden, and then Star Spring is healing back everything, which both synergize with Star Spring as well as Star Shepherd and you need the damage for the Stargazer to actually activate. If Braum is damaged, then it will always get elusive if the Stargazer is on board. And then if you get an additional copy of Soraka, then the Wish from Soraka, which will heal everything, is going to give you basically an all elusive board, which can be quite threatening. So yeah, this deck has a lot of options, and that's why I suggest that you try this deck out. Then moving on, we have the Ashe Tahm Kench. This is also very interesting because most people would probably want to combine Tahm Kench with like Soraka or maybe Demacia with more capture synergies. But really, Tahm Kench is kind of clunky because it needs the capture mechanic, but it also needs a way to heal. So you kind of have to go into Targon for that. But then the only capture spell that are in there are the Tahm Kench Acquired Taste and the Bayou Branch. Bayou Branch, I don't know how to spell that. And the Bayou Branch is not really that strong, because if they remove your Tahm Kench once you have Bayou branched one of your other units, then you're pretty much screwed, because they got a 2-for-1 and you also spent a card to do that. So basically a 3-for-1, which is insane. You can't really possibly... Bayou Branch is too committal. Of course, if you are in an aggro matchup, then they probably won't have a way to interact with your Tahm Kench when you go all in on him, but in all other kind of archetypes and matchups, you're probably going to get screwed for a move like that. That's why the only way to actually level up Tahm Kench, the safest way, is to actually only make it work by himself, and so only with an acquired taste. And so yeah, you need healing for that, but you can also prevent the heal if actually Tahm Kench doesn't get damaged at all. And so that's where Frostbite comes in play, because if you Frostbite the unit that then you're going to cast the unacquired taste on, then you basically don't need heal, because Tahm Kench will not get damaged from a striking unit which doesn't have damage attack. So yeah, that's why the Frostbite synergy comes really into mind, so that's why I combine it with Ashe, because of course Ashe works very well with Frostbite synergy, and then the deck is pretty much, it auto-builds itself. You want to run Brittle Steel, as much Frostbite synergies as you want, so Brittle Steel, then we have Icefell Archer, we have Renfang Wolf, which synergizes well with of course, the Frostbite synergy, Ashe itself, which also is Frostbite, Tusk Shaman, which is kind of debatable, not probably the best competitive card, but in this kind of deck, which has so many applications for Frostbite, either Ashe or Renfang Wolf or Tahm Kench itself, this always gets you a target for an acquired taste without spending additional cards and mana. More importantly, cards, and so this is a very threatening unit that your opponent wants to remove. But they have a lot of stuff to remove. They also have to remove Ashe, Tahm Kench, so they probably will exhaust their removals at some point. And so if that works, Tusk Shaman basically gives you an upper hand on board, always removing from the attack the strongest enemy, and then you can actually remove that with Tahm Kench, which is very, very strong. So yeah, Tusk Shaman and Archwinds, so that's all the Frostbite synergy. And then we run like power cards from both Freljord and Bilgewater, so obviously Make It Rain for the aggro matchup, Hired Gun, which again actually synergizes pretty well with the Frostbite synergy itself, because you give vulnerable to a unit, then you Frostbite it and attack into it, because most of the times when you Frostbite, they really are not going to block with the Frostbitten unit. Instead, if you like challenge it with the vulnerable, then of course you're going to remove it and get a free trade, basically. Avaros and Sentry just a one-off, because yeah, it's pretty good to drop. Home and Oak as well for the early on presence, and Candid Tavern Keeper, because for the burn aggro matchup, the Candid Tavern Keeper is very, very good. That 3-mana 3/3 is actually not that bad, and healing for 3, which is pretty much a counter to Decimate, if you think about it, is really, really valuable. So yeah, this is also a very interesting concept. Probably not a lot of people have thought about this kind of synergy and combination. So yeah, definitely check this out and try this fun and, how can I say it, uncommon combination. Moving on to yet more strange combinations, we have a Shyvana Garen into Noxus, with a splash of Noxus. Why is that? Because most of the people will probably want to play Shyvana, of course, with a dragon-heavy synergy deck. So probably going into Targon. Maybe someone is even thinking of going into Aurelion Soul and Eclipse Dragon. Maybe the Kader Green, I don't remember the name of that 9-mana dragon. They probably want to go big with dragons. But I don't feel like that kind of strategy is really going to work. Because if you look at it, it's probably a mid-range deck, but then you go too expensive into it. If you also run Aurelion Soul and stuff like that. Instead, if you want to go for Aurelion Soul, then probably Freljord is better. You don't want to go into Demacia. I mean, there are some kind of decks in Demacia Targon, but then you don't really want to be a Shyvana deck. Probably I've seen some Lux Aurelion Soul decks which did quite well. So yeah, really, to find a home for Shyvana, probably that's not the way to go. Instead, if you look at it, Shyvana really does synergize with attacks, both in his base form, but even more in her level up form, because every time she attacks, you get what's the name? The Strafing Strike, the new strike, which is very similar to single combat, which is a very good and huge engine for value, basically. Every time killing one of their stuff, since you probably will have the biggest units. So yeah, you actually want to synergize with this part, not the dragon part. I know that to level her up, you need to obviously deal damage to dragons, and so this seems that she locks her into the dragon package. But really it doesn't, because with this kind of strategy, with all the Willing Death, the single combat, Strafing Strike, Concerted Strike, and more importantly the Noxcrya Arena, which also I'm a very big fan of. I really do love this card, and also it's very important that it says round end and not round start, because you can start getting value from these as soon as you play it. Basically acting like a single combat, but of course the more this stays on board, the more value you get from it. So this is probably the most competitive landmark, as well as Starspring. This is a very, very good card. So yeah, you have a lot of ways to actually attack with Shyvana without attacking, and with her, of course, you can strike with her. And so yeah, these and the Screeching Dragon, which are probably the best dragons out of them all, are probably kinda enough to even Shyvana herself, with all those strikes, can work by it herself, basically. And then we also have a Garen, which synergizes with the strike part, and if Garen levels up, then you get rallies every turn, basically, further increasing the strength of Shyvana, which can attack more, so dealing more damage and level up faster. Or when she's leveled up, then you can generate a strafing, basically double the amount of strafing strikes, and also getting more value from the get +2/+2 and the Fury of Shyvana leveled up, which is very, very strong. So that's why I probably went into Noxus. That seems basically for the Noxcrya Arena. That's the only thing that that made me go into that. And if you look at it, it being only a Demacia deck, also we have like the early game, Fleet Feeder Tracker, Bright Seal Protector, Dragon Guard Lieutenant, which probably will have another time to trigger, because you only have Shyvana and Screeching Dragon as dragons into the deck. But if you think about it, you really want to mulligan for your Shyvana, which is a champion. So you most of the times you will have a dragon to make the Dragon Lieutenant proc. And even if it doesn't, a 2-mana Truth is not that terrible. Of course, basically stats by themselves, like a vanilla stat line, is not really that good, but yeah, it is not the worst of the drawback, basically. Then yeah, Reckless Trifarian, because with all those strikes that we have, basically Reckless Trifarian is a 3-drop on steroids, if you think about it. Very, very good stat line. Of course, the drawback is that you can't block with it, but if you can strike with it anyway, this is a very good target for strikes. And also pretty threatening if you can attack with it every turn, thanks to Garen and all the rallies, like Relentless Pursuit. And yeah, that's it. Then finally we have also Radiant Guardian, for a little bit more of stability, lifesteal, which is very important with all those strikes that we have, and also Citra the Bold, which again is a very good 6-drop, now even more since Genevieve Helmet was nerfed. And also, on a side note, it also synergizes with all those attacks, the fact that you can attack with her every turn. So yeah, this is a very interesting concept that I can't wait to try out, and hopefully you as well want to try it as soon as the expansion releases. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you liked it and find it useful, and as always, see ya!